there guys and goddesses, welcome back to my channel TheTarative and thank you for stopping by. So today's video is going to be another pregnancy update video. I will be discussing everything that's happened in week 30 to week 34 of my pregnancy, and that will include discussing the appointments that I've had these last 4 weeks, as well as the pregnancy symptoms and body changes that I've experienced as well. And I have to say, body changes, I've experienced so many more in this last 4 weeks than I have in the rest of my pregnancy, so stay tuned to hear what those are. Also as well, before I end the video, I will be showing you guys my ever expanding bump. Now, before we get into the main part of the video, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who enjoys watching these videos and who lets me know you enjoy watching these videos by either leaving a thumbs up or by staying subscribed to this channel. I really do appreciate your support, and it's absolutely incredible. We've nearly reached 40,000 subscribers. Can you believe that? 40,000. I still can't quite believe it myself, but I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart a big thank you. So I have actually just created a Patreon page for this channel, just as a bonus outlet for those of you who would like to get to know me better, and for those of you who would like an extra way to support this channel. By no means do not feel obliged to go and check it out, but for those of you who would like to see the rewards which are on there that I'm going to be offering, and also just an extra way to support this channel, then I will be leaving a link in the description box down below, and there will also be a link permanently in the about page of this channel as well. Also, one last thing that I want to mention, if you are wanting to stay up to date with me in between videos, then do go and follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr, as I am posting or tweeting things on there regularly in between posting here on YouTube. Okay, now, enough of that preamble, let's just get into the main part of the video. So I'm going to start off by talking about the appointments that I've had in the last 4 weeks, and then I'll move on to discussing the pregnancy symptoms and body changes that I've experienced over the last 4 weeks. So there were 2 appointments that fell within the last 4 weeks of my pregnancy, and those were appointments with the midwife at 31 weeks and 34 weeks. Now this time they were actually different midwives to the one that I've had previously in all my other appointments. The 31 week and the 34 week appointment were actually with 2 completely different midwives, so now I've seen a total of 3 midwives, but both of those appointments started off the same way. They took my blood pressure and they tested my urine. In both of those appointments they were absolutely fine. Now moving on to the first appointment, so the 31 week appointment, the midwife did actually ask me about the blood test that I had taken at weeks 28 of pregnancy. Now I did mention in the second trimester update video that a day after the blood test had been taken, the GP surgery did phone me and say that actually it showed that I was anemic, and so they prescribed me iron tablets to take twice a day for the rest of my pregnancy. So that is what I had been doing up until the 31 week appointment. Now the midwife at the 31 week appointment was asking about it because she said often they actually explain to people they are anemic when they're not. There are different levels for pregnant ladies and non-pregnant ladies with the iron count that are a healthy range. Now my range apparently, or my number, was 110. Now for a non-pregnant lady they don't want to see you go under 120 because that would be a sign that you're anemic, and that's when they would prescribe you iron tablets in order to take. However, the midwife explained that for a pregnant lady the level is actually 105, and a lot of the GPs just forget about that fact, and so I was prescribed the medication to take twice a day. She said, well actually I am above the normal range, I am quite close to the range or the lower range that they would like to see, so I could still continue taking the iron tablets if I wanted, but she definitely recommended just dropping down to once a day rather than taking them twice a day, and so that is what I've done. I am now just taking the iron supplements once a day on top of my prenatal vitamins as well. So that was all good. Also as well, during that appointment she did feel my bump and measure my bump. Now as I mentioned at the 28 week appointment, my bump measured 28 centimetres, and they would like to see an average of about a centimetre of growth per week. So this time she measured it, and as I said, I was 31 weeks, I was actually 32 centimetres in measurement for my bump, so I had grown a little bit more than 1 centimetre a week, but that was absolutely fine. And she did also feel for where the baby was laying, and she was in the head down position. Now before we ended the appointment we did also book in another appointment, which was for the 34 week appointment, but she asked if I'd booked onto the antenatal class which the hospital offers, and I had, and in fact that is coming up in the next couple of days. Dan and I are going to it It's an all-day thing, sort of 10 till 4 thing, so I'm looking forward to that. And then she did say as well that I will need to phone the hospital and book in a tour for looking around the birth centre to fall around 36 weeks of being pregnant, and also at that appointment they would also be discussing my birth plan. So that is all booked in, and again that's actually only 2 days after our antenatal class at the hospital, so in the next few days we've got a few appointments at the hospital, but again I'm looking forward to that and having a little tour around the birth centre. I will be doing a separate video once I've been to the birth centre and discussed my birth plan, and I will be sharing my birth plan with you guys once we've sort of finalised the details of it. Obviously birth plans is definitely subject to change, but I sort of have an idea of how I would like it to go if it could go the way that I would like to, but I will be doing a separate video all about that. So that sums up the 31-week appointment. Now at the 34-week appointment, again they measured my bump and checked to see which position she was in. My bump at 34 weeks was actually 34 centimetres in length. They measure it sort of from the sternum area to the bottom of your bump / crotch area, just in case you're wondering how they take the measurement. But yes, I was on 34 centimetres, which was on track for being 34 weeks of being pregnant, and again she was still in the head down position. So all was good there. Now she explained that I didn't have to book a midwife appointment for 36 weeks since I would be going to the birth centre at 36 weeks. So that's absolutely fine, but we did book in an appointment for being 38 weeks pregnant, and she said that could very well be my last midwife appointment, but in case I go over 38 weeks, they would like to see me again at 40 weeks, so we just went ahead and booked that in. So that sums up everything for those midwife appointments. I will now move on to the pregnancy symptoms and body changes. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I have noticed so many body changes over the last 4 weeks of being pregnant, and when I say body changes, some of those are pregnancy symptoms and some of them body changes. I feel that they fall more in the body changes category, but I think they're all entwined. So, as I had mentioned, I hadn't actually thrown up since being 25 weeks pregnant. However, at about 30 weeks or 31 weeks I think it was, I randomly just threw up in the morning at work, which was not very pleasant whatsoever. I have Weetabix and an apple every morning, and all of that came up, which is a little bit of a waste of time eating that, but hey ho, luckily I haven't thrown up since then. But again, I still am very, very burpy in the mornings. That has unfortunately not passed, but as the day goes on, I tend to get less burpy, so that is all good. Now, most of these are now body changes, and they're to do with my bump, and they're to do with my limbs and extremities, etc, etc. So I mentioned in the last video, or the last update video, that when I go from sitting to standing, I do notice that my bump starts feeling a lot heavier, and there's a lot more pressure and more discomfort around my crotch area. That has continued and has gotten worse. Now I do find when I go to stand up after sitting for a little while, I feel like I can barely walk. I do feel like I'm waddling, and I really do concentrate when I am walking straight after getting up to not look like I'm waddling, but I definitely feel a little bit of strain there and discomfort, definitely at the lower bit of my bump, but also around my pelvic region as well. That tends to wear off after a few minutes, but that's definitely something that I have been experiencing over the last 4 weeks, and also that I've noticed has been getting progressively more uncomfortable as well. It's all bearable, but I just have to walk a little bit more slowly than I would, and then after a few minutes of walking, then it becomes a little bit more comfortable again, and I can resume with my normal pace of walking. And actually talking about discomfort as well, I have noticed that when I roll from side to side in bed, the pressure, because my bump is growing and obviously the baby is growing as well, when I move from one side to the other, it's really uncomfortable, especially when I go from just the side position. When I'm then on my back going over to the other side, it really feels like my muscles are sort of straining slightly as the movement goes from side to side. So that's definitely another thing that I've noticed. I do find that when I am asleep, I tend to find myself in a half asleep state when I go from side to side because of the discomfort that I'm experiencing. But again, it's all manageable. It's nothing too bad. I only tend to roll side to side when I'm in bed, so it's not like I'm doing it that often, but I definitely have noticed an increased level of discomfort in that aspect. And again, that is just because my bump has been expanding and growing over these last 4 weeks, and I'm sure that over the next 4 to 6 weeks that is only going to continue to getting worse. Now, a new thing that I've been experiencing is actually to do with my hands. I have noticed that my rings feel a lot tighter on my hand than they did before. There's still a little bit of movement there, but they would be a little bit looser. Now, part of that is because it's slightly warmer weather here, but I do also believe that I'm at that stage in pregnancy where things are starting to not really swell, but I don't know if you can tell compared to normal, how I am normally, that my fingers, they definitely seem a little bit puffier, especially my ring finger, and that's one thing that I have noticed over these last few weeks. And talking about things puffing up and getting big, I have noticed now more than ever that my feet have started to swell. They're not swollen all the time, and it's not alarming or anything like that, but definitely by the end of the day, especially if it's been a busier day at work where I haven't really had a chance to sit down, that my feet are not only throbbing and aching loads, but also as well they're quite puffy. And I did experience for the first time the other day that my ankles were swollen. I was really surprised to see. I was working a late night Wednesday where I work about 10 hours, and so by the time I got home I was getting undressed and I looked down at my ankles and I was really surprised to see that they didn't really look like ankles anymore. It slightly merged from being where my calf was to my ankle without much of that definition. Yes, they were really swollen, and that's the first time that I've experienced swollen ankles. And I have noticed that today, earlier on in the day, that they looked a little bit swollen as well. So when I'm at home, or if I can at work, I'm trying to sort of relax a little bit more. Obviously when I'm at work, I can't really control how much I'm standing or sitting. It really just depends on the influx of customers who are coming in. But when I'm at home, I'm trying to keep my feet elevated to help keep that swelling down. And as I said, it's not an alarming level. I know that sometimes it can be a sign of things that you want to look out for, such as preeclampsia in pregnancy, but I do believe it's within the normal range. But the next appointment I will mention it to my midwife, and if I do get overly concerned about it in the next day or two, then I do have a number to call. But yes, that's one thing that I've noticed, especially over this last week or two, and especially in the last day with regards to my ankles, that they're just puffing up now. So yes, that is all fun, and yeah, generally my feet are in a state of achiness pretty much constantly, but more so after a long day. Now the next 3 body changes are all to do with my bump. The first thing is to do with my belly button. So at some point during the second trimester, I did notice that my belly button started protruding. It wasn't protruding loads, but it definitely had a little lip rather than it being a complete innie. Well, now it has definitely protruded even more. Now, it's not a complete outie all the time. However, a good half to 2/3 of it does stick out permanently. I do notice that actually when I'm sitting down, more so when I'm sitting down on the toilet, sorry if that's a bit TMI, that the rest of my belly button does actually start protruding at that point. And also as well, when I'm lying down in bed, rather than it being any part of an innie now, it's just completely smooth or completely rounded over. So yes, that's one thing that I've noticed. Definitely my belly button sticking out a lot more than it was before. Now the next thing, again to do with my bump, is something that I haven't experienced whatsoever throughout the rest of my pregnancy. It just happened at week 32 of being pregnant, and that is now at the bottom half of my bump, so where my belly button goes all the way down to my crotch, I've noticed there is a darker line down the middle. Now there is a specific name for that line that occurs during pregnancy, and I really can't remember it off the top of my head, but it is very common to happen during pregnancy. Some people get that darker line on the bottom half of the bump, some people get it on the top half, and some people get it throughout their whole bump down the middle. As I mentioned, I just have it on the bottom half. I don't know if I'll get it on the top half over these next few weeks or not, but so far it's just the bottom half. It's not a really dark line and it's not really noticeable. However, it is more of sort of a browny beige colour than the rest of my skin, and again I shall be showing you that before I end the video when I show you what my bump looks like. And in fact, actually, I can't see it myself. I can't see it directly because when I look down, all I can actually see is from about my sternum area to my belly button. I can't see below that, but I noticed it in the mirror and I was really taken aback. I was like, wait, is that a line I see? And it was. I wasn't sure if it was the line from my tights where the seam goes, but that usually is more of a red colour and it's usually off to one side. But yes, I definitely do have that line now, so I will be showing you what that looks like. And then the last thing body change wise that I've noticed, again to do with my bump, is the fact that I have actually now have started getting stretch marks. I haven't had any stretch marks throughout the rest of my pregnancy, but I have noticed 2 stretch marks appear on my stomach area. Now, I don't know where they usually start for some people. I don't know. Some people don't get them whatsoever. Some people get them quite early on. Now, I'm actually quite prone to stretch marks. I've always noticed that during growth spurts, either from getting taller or wider, that my body is quite prone to stretch marks. And so I'm surprised that it hadn't started sooner. But where I actually have got these stretch marks aren't on my hip areas, aren't on the front areas, they've actually started from the scars of where my surface piercing was, and I think that's just because it is weaker tissue in that area, and as I'm expanding, that weaker tissue has stretched out more, and it's created stretch marks emanating from the entry and the exit points of the surface piercings, which again I shall show you in just a minute. But that is now everything explained for the last 4 weeks of being pregnant. I am now going to show you what my ever expanding bump looks like. So give me a second and I'll show you what that looks like before we end the video. So this is what my bump looks like underneath my dress, from the front, from the sides, don't know if you can see, there we go, and from the other side. And then as I pull it up, I am actually wearing a dress, but I put my pyjamas on specially so that I wasn't inappropriate as I pulled this up. Sorry, there's a lot of material. That is what my bump now looks like from the front. As you can see, my belly button is protruding quite a bit. And then from the side, definitely a lot rounder than it was at the end of the second trimester. And again, this is what it looks like now from the other side. And I'm just going to get closer so that you can see. So that is the entry and exit hole of my surface piercing, and I don't know how well this picks it up, but this way there is now a stretch mark that runs through, which I think did just start at that point, and then this stretch mark is in a slightly different direction. So those are my now 2 stretch marks. I don't think I've really got any stretch marks anywhere else. I have noticed that around sort of the lower part areas, I did have a slightly darker, oh, I think it's on this side actually. There's sort of darker colour there and a darker colour there, which is almost like a stretch mark, but it's actually quite rounded, so a little bit more like a broken capillary. And then I don't know if it picks it up. I really can't tell in the camera or not, so I'm trying to lean back, but there is a darker line now running from here to here. So again, this is what my bump looks like. I am now 35 weeks and 2 days. So that is what my ever-expanding bump looks like at 35 weeks and 2 days of being pregnant. I do hope you enjoyed this pregnancy update video. If you did, then remember to leave it a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, then please leave them in the comment section down below. I will be sure to answer them for you. I will be doing more update videos pregnancy-wise in the near future. I'll also be doing a video specifically about my birth plan once I've visited the hospital birth centre and discussed it as well. So I'll be doing a video all about that in the next few weeks, and I'm also planning on doing what's in my hospital bag and what's in my baby's hospital bag, as well as doing probably a clothing haul as well, or a baby haul. I'm not sure if I'll combine the bigger items in there, such as pram and baby carrier, etc, etc, but I will be doing a video, or plan to do a video, showing you everything I've got so far for this baby's arrival. As I mentioned, if you do want to stay up to date with me in between videos, then go and follow me on Twitter, Instagram and Tumblr. And for those of you who would like to support this channel in an extra way, I will be leaving the link to my Patreon page in the description box down below, and it will also be on the about page of this channel. So that's everything to say for now. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I shall see you very, very soon. Bye for now.